Final game of the play-in tournament, the Indiana Pacers, number 8, hosting the number 9 Brooklyn Nets. Winner faces the number 1 seeded Washington Wizards. This is Season Long Baller. Let's go ahead and try this Simcast live on NBA 2K23. This is Season Long Baller. Hope you're having a wonderful day. And now we are playing the final play-in game. It is the Nets against the Pacers here in Indiana. And as you know, we're doing a slightly different format for these games, as this is the 8-9 game. The Pacers lost to the Heat, so this is why they're in the game. And Brooklyn defeated Toronto by 1 point. I have to think Indiana's going to win this game. They're up 3-2 right now. I have to think Indiana's going to win this game because they can't shoot any worse than they did against Miami a few days ago, right? I mean, they shot 18% from the field against Miami. There's no way in the world they're going to repeat that performance, and they're up 7-2 already on Brooklyn, 8-2 now. So I have to think that they're going to end up winning this game. Now, do I prefer to play Indiana? Probably so, because the Nets games, I think, overall have been tougher, although I have lost to neither one of these teams. Now, if you're new to the channel, Season Long Baller, this isn't what we generally do. We're just doing these play-in games to see who is going to be the opponent for the number 1 seeded Washington Wizards, who we have been playing as the entire season through our player build, Jaymont Summerz, and that player build is down in the description below. Number 4, point guard out of William & Mary. We built that way back in October, and we have mirrored the entire Wizards schedule. Finished 66-16 and the number 1 seed in the East. Now, the other big thing here that you probably noticed like right off the bat is some of the differences with our simulation versus obviously the real NBA. Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant obviously are the number 1 exhibits of that because neither one of them obviously is playing for the Nets anymore. Durant obviously was traded to the Phoenix Suns, and Irving, of course, to the Dallas Mavericks, who, well, they didn't make the playoffs, so they're going to have a very interesting offseason. But right now, the Pacers are up 19-12 here in the first quarter, and we'll see if they can hold on to this lead. As I said before, they got slaughtered like 53-21 by Miami on Tuesday, and they were the 8th seed, so they would, of course, play the winner of the 9-10 game, which was a much better game if Brooklyn defeated Toronto like 42-41. It was a 1-point game. Kevin Durant with a dunk with under 20 seconds to go as the game-winning play. Indiana's still up by 8 here, and this is, again, we're simulating this through Simcast live on NBA 2K23. The winner of this game will play the Washington Wizards, and we will, of course, play that as we normally play our games, as Ben Simmons is shooting a couple of free throws, and he already has 10 points, but the Pacers are winning the game right now, 29-20, and again, I would be very surprised if the Pacers fall off in terms of shooting percentage, because there's no way they can shoot as bad as they did against the Heat. And I know I keep mentioning it, but I'm just so surprised that a team would shoot 18%. Anyhow, it's 29-22 right now here in the second quarter, and we played all of the play-in games, and it's, you know, the previous 2 in this particular format where we did the Simcast live with the 8-9 game, with the 7-8 game, and then the 9-10 game. And after this game, which is the final of the play-in tournament, we'll then have our playoffs set, and we'll talk about that right after this game. And obviously, we've been watching the East game, but this is, of course, happening out West as well. And we'll talk about that and give you the full playoff bracket after this simulation is over. Still, Indiana leading 32-24. It looks like they may go into the half with the lead. They're up by 11 on the Nets. And the Nets, as I mentioned, barely escaped Toronto. An upset bid, I guess. Well, I guess maybe not an upset bid, but a road win it would have been for Toronto, since Brooklyn was the 9 seed. In the third quarter now, Pacers are still holding on to the lead. Another difference between the rosters, as you may have noticed, Terry Rozier III is playing for the Nets. Trade during the season with the Charlotte Hornets that sent Jaymont Summerz to the Hornets, and among other players, and then sent Rozier up here to the Nets. 37-27 with 4 minutes to go now, or just over 4:01 to go here in the third quarter. And again, Pacers are holding on to the lead. Now, after this game, we will talk a little bit more about the playoff seeding and what it will look like. And we will talk a little bit about the Wizards, who will be facing the winner of this game, because obviously the winner of this game, as now all of the Pacers are hot, the winner of this game will be the 8th seed, and they will be facing the number 1 seeded Washington Wizards, as we finished 66-16 during the season. Pacers, again, have basically let this wire to wire. They're leading right now by 9, and they're hot all the way through at this moment. Ben Simmons has 18 points. Wow. Did he have 18 points in a game at all in the actual NBA at any point this season? Anyhow, the Nets call a timeout, down by 9 with 1:17 to go here in the third quarter. This is Season Long Baller, and we are happy to have you with us. If you like what we're doing on the channel, and again, this is slightly different than what we normally do on the channel, please hit that like and subscribe button. It is much appreciated. Again, 2 days from now, the winner of this game will be taking on the Wizards in Washington, as we'll do our normal thing. 6-minute quarters is what we normally play. So a lot of the stats you will see during the season, when you see the season stats, are compressed because it's only a 6-minute quarter. And that is if you're new to the channel, Season Long Baller. And if you're new, welcome and thank you for being here. 46-37 is your score as we're winding down to the third quarter. And it's interesting, Flynn, the backup point guard for Toronto, is still the only coin representation that did not have a face. I'm not sure why he was the only one, but you notice all 10 players here on the floor, and even when the bench units came in, they also all had a facial representation on their little coins. So I guess, I don't know, Flynn didn't take a headshot picture? That seems a little bit odd. They had, a representation of him when we actually played Toronto. And speaking of Toronto, I was probably happy to see the Nets beat them. Toronto is the only team that won the season series out of all the 82 games we played this season. Toronto was the only team to win the season series from the Wizards 2-1. Pacers are still holding on to a lead here, 48-41, as the clock is ticking down. If the Nets are going to make a move, they probably need to make that move now. They are now down by 9 with under 2.5 to go. And now the Nets take a timeout. 2:20 to go, 50-41 in favor of the Pacers. And like I said, there was no way in the world the Pacers were going to shoot as bad as they did in that Heat matchup. And the Heat are the 7th seed, obviously by virtue of that win over the Pacers. And they will be facing the Philadelphia 76ers, who finished as the 2 seed. All right, this will probably take us to the end, most likely. Brooklyn now has closed the lead to 7, but that's basically been what it has been. Well, okay, Pacers are taking a timeout here. But that's basically what our margin of the lead has been for most of this game. The Pacers are staying just out of arm's length. 7-9 point lead for most of this game. 2:12 to go now. 50-43 in favor of the Pacers. And again, if the Nets want to get back in this, they are probably going to have to make a run right now. Jalen Smith picks up a foul, and let's see, I guess Kyrie Irving has the ball and missed the 3-pointer. So the score remains a 7-point lead. Now all of the Nets are hot, but is there enough time? They close it to 5. It's under a minute now. Well, no, it's 7 again. Under 45 seconds to go, the Pacers with a 52-45 win, a 52-45 lead. And that looks like that's going to do it for this game. Yeah, 52-45. Buddy Hield, which I'm highlighting here because he was 0 for 10 and 0 for 5 from 3 in that game where they got beat by Toronto. So, looking at the playoff play-in on the West, you see the 7-8 game between the Blazers and the Lakers. The Blazers won that game, led by Jeremy Grant's 26. The Lakers were the 7 seed, interestingly enough. Then in the 9-10 game, the Phoenix Suns just got past the Jazz, 45-43. So the Suns would be taking on the Lakers in their finale game out west to see who will be the 8th seed. The Lakers won that game over Phoenix. Let's see that score, 60-41. Lakers blew out the Suns. And as I said, we didn't really follow that too much. out west. We didn't simulate that too much. So we're just watching those, looking at these scores. And so that sets the West as the 7th seed is the Blazers, the 8th seed is the Lakers. And the Suns look like they didn't have a really good game there shooting-wise. Looking out west, as you see, as we've talked about during the game, there you see the Heat defeating the Pacers, Brooklyn over Toronto, and then in our 9-10 game, Indiana just defeated Brooklyn. Now, you see the full playoff slate there out in the East and the West. So a real quick playoff preview. As you can see in the East first, Washington will be taking on the number 8 seeded Indiana Pacers, who just won that game over Brooklyn. The 4-5 matchup is Atlanta and Chicago. We swept Chicago, split with Atlanta, so that could be an interesting series if Atlanta comes out of that one. Cleveland and Boston is your 3-6 matchup. And as I mentioned a little bit earlier, Philadelphia is hosting Miami in the 2-7 matchup out east. Out west, Memphis ends up finishing as the 1 seed. The Clippers will be your 2 seed, so Memphis will be taking on the Lakers. The 4-5 matchup is Minnesota and Denver. Dallas is the 3 seed against Sacramento, our 6 seed. And then the Clippers and Portland are your 2-7 matchup. If there's one game I think of, or one series in particular of interest to me, probably out east, the 3-6 matchup. As you know, over the last few weeks, I've talked about Boston's rally when Jason Tatum got hurt very early in the season. He returned earlier than expected, and Boston immediately went on a run. Boston was out of the playoffs at one point. Boston was then in the play-in, and as you see, they finished out of the play-in into the playoffs, getting the coveted 6th position, and now they face Cleveland. And I'm going to be honest with you, I would not be surprised if in our simulation, Cleveland loses to Boston. So that's going to be my prediction here. I know it's a simulation, so it's not like we're predicting a real game per se, but I'm going to go ahead and say I think Boston's going to defeat Cleveland in that series, and that is going to be very interesting. So that sets your playoff picture for our simulation. Again, we're playing NBA 2K23 through our player build, number 4, Jaymont Summerz on the Washington Wizards, the 1 seed, 66-16 in the East. We will start our playoff series against the Indiana Pacers, who you just saw win that simulation game against the Brooklyn Nets. We will start that on Sunday, and we hope to have you there. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, you are much appreciated. That's it for Season Long Baller. Have a great rest of your day. Peace.